Hey friends, today's conversation is a conversation. I was invited onto Ardelia Lee's podcast, The Projector Life, and her and I had a conversation around MGs, manifesting generators, and the projector world. And one of the things that I have noticed, and I get it, we're not supposed to initiate. Neither one of those types are supposed to initiate. However, it's around conversation. And one of the things Ra always said was we have to have a back and forth conversation between those types that are not here to quote unquote initiate. Because initiation actually through a manifestor is their own decision making. It's not about the only type to be able to begin a conversation is a manifestor. That's incorrect. When we're looking at this through the lens of that generator, manifesting generator type and that projector type, one of the things that's so important for a projector to really look at is the manifesting generator or generator. What is our existential question? Who am I? So we have a lot of navel gazing that we're doing constantly because we want to find out, who am I? Who am I in this game? And a lot of times we don't lift our heads to really look and see and seek out guidance. Okay. Especially if you are a right angle manifesting generator or generator, you're designed to be on your own personal destiny and moving forward in your own life. Left angles, there's allies there. So it can look and feel a little bit different, but as a whole, 70% of the population is navel gazing. And as one of my projectors, Rachel, in our mentorship group, she's like, yeah, but our niche isn't the full 70%. And I get that. I totally understand that. However, the projector niche is navel gazing. So we need what we really need, because we are busy generating, we're busy working, we are busy doing our thing, is for that projector to come up to us and seriously say, like, I recognize this, or I'm noticing that. And through that recognition and noticing, now we can respond and invite them in. And the exact same thing can happen the other way around. Maybe there's a manifesting generator or generator that's super frustrated and they recognize, hey, I do need guidance. Then they go out and they look for that correct projector to guide them. And through that, they can say, hey, I notice that you're really masterful at such and such. Can we have a conversation? Is it okay to have a conversation? Can I invite you in? Can you tell me if there's something that you can guide me on in my business or in my relationship? So it is a back and forth. What I was trying to express in Ardelia Lee's Projector Life podcast is it's so important for the projector to understand that your niche, the people that you're connecting with, are navel gazing. And in order for us to really recognize the magic that your guidance can bring to us, let us know what you notice and recognize about us, and then we can respond. All right. Have fun in the conversation. If there's something in here that you want to have a discussion with, drop in the comments, what you felt about this conversation, because I'm not a projector, but I do recognize from someone who has the pure manifesting generator channel, I like to be in my creative muse. And when I'm in my creative muse and I'm in frustration, sometimes it's difficult for me to lift my head and look out and notice that there's someone that can guide me. So I'm just open to discussion. Play with it, see what you think. Let me know in the comments if there's something that you would add to this conversation, or something that you're saying, no, I don't agree with that. Or maybe you do agree with it, whatever that is. All right. Have fun.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am here with Leann. And Leann, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to chat with you.
Thank you. Thank you. I love design. I love people with podcasts to, get the message out to as many people as possible. And I am looking forward to having a conversation with you. That is for sure.
I think you were looking at my chart, weren't you?
I am. I am.
I'm a little nervous now. Excellent. So I always start by asking, how people found human design, because it's so interesting to hear the stories that they share. So how did you find the system?
So human design found me. I was a bank manager for 10 years. And there was a shift happening in the banking system. They were moving to a new software platform. And the moment that was announced, there was just this knowing inside of me, I'm not going to be here for the new, the go live date. I just knew it. There was something that said, you're not going to be here. That was 3 years prior to me leaving the bank. And when I left the bank, I allowed myself this space to just kind of decondition, let go of the conditioning of the whole corporate stuff, right? And that time that I gave myself, it was about a year. And then I was sitting down at the computer and I'm like, you know what? I'm ready. I'm ready to just come back into the world and do whatever it is that I'm supposed to do. So I typed into the computer, new age business, and human design came up. This was back in 2013, 2012, 2013. And probably today, if you were to type that into a search bar, you're not probably going to get human design as the first hit. So it was fun to go, well, what is this? And I kind of always my sister had introduced me to astrology and all that, as a little young kid, right? Nothing that I, jumped into full time, but I just was aware of it all. And I'm like, this is really intriguing. And it found me. So it bumped into me and I'm like, I'm not sure. So about a week later, all of a sudden it came to me again through a completely different a channel and bumped into me again. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is the second time I've seen this in a week. Is this something I need to look into? And then a week later, Raw's material found me. The International Human Design School just somehow got into an email, whatever it was. I was like, oh, there it is. That's the one that I need. So it was interesting. I didn't know my internal guidance system, which is a sacral, but yet I was already operating with it, right? And I think most people find that. And it was so fun to watch that process and then be able to reflect on it afterwards and go, oh, that was always guiding me and moving me. And I was listening. So that was the fun part. So that was a long answer to a short question, but it found me.
That's incredible. I love it. And I noticed your 1-3 language where you were, it bumped into you. I love that. It's my fellow 1-3. I get it. Get it.
Yeah. Totally. And it's what I notice is that it actually, a lot of stuff comes to me in 3s. Do you notice that as a 1-3? Do you notice things come to you like bang, bang, bang? And it's like, oh, all of a sudden on the 3rd time, it's like, oh, I need to pay attention to this. Do you come across that?
Interesting. You know what? I am going to have to go reflect on that now.
Okay.
That is so interesting because I don't take the first time.
Yes.
It's okay. I will go reflect on that. Thank you for this. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel as though it's because there's 8 billion different expressions out there, right? And it's the different expressions bump in and then it's like, oh, it wasn't that one. It's not this one, but it's this one. So that's how I have seen it play out in my life.
Yes, that's so interesting. And then, so you're a Manny-Gen and most of my audience, we are projectors. Right. And I sometimes get questions from people like, okay, my partner or my child is a manifesting generator. What do I do? How do I help them? I don't have any Manny-gens in my household, though I do have a dear friend who's a Manny-gen. But I would love to get any, insight, help that you could offer us for like, how do you best support a manifesting generator?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really interesting. I actually work with quite a few mental projectors, because in my body graph, I have a totally open head, totally open ajna. And it just allows them to have that real clear reflective process back to them. So it's fun to watch that. And one thing that is so important for the manifesting generator, sector, is that we get very, very in our own creative bubble and we start moving forward in that creative bubble. And sometimes we need a little bit of an interruption. Even though it can feel very abrupt, when a projector says to me, hey, I'm noticing this, or I recognize this in you, all of a sudden it's like, oh, there can be this pattern interrupt that can help me recognize that sometimes I'm not using my energy as efficiently as it needs to be used. Because we have a tendency to, put our head down and just go. And we may not love the pattern interrupt, but it's required because we don't notice what's going on in the outside world because we're so deeply entrenched in our creative, generative energy. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And I was thinking about a Manny-gen that I worked with before, and I was offering her some direction. I was like, okay, I think this is what we need. This is where we need to move. And she was just so in everything. She's like, no. And then she pulled back and she was working on something. And then she goes, holy crap, Ardelia was right. And I was like, thank you.
Yes. Yeah. And I think the key words for the projectors is this: I notice, or I'm recognizing, because we as manifesting generators, we want to be seen, right? Like we want to know, who are we? So when somebody goes, oh, I noticed that, it's like, ooh, all of our tingly little oh, they're noticing something. What are they noticing? So there's this space where you guys have this, kind of direct connection to knowing us so deeply that you can help us with that pattern interrupt. Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. I love even the idea of the relationship between the projector and the manifesting generator, because it's different. It's different, correct, between a projector and a manifesting generator and a projector and a generator.
Yep. Okay. The manifesting generator has a tendency to skip steps. There's a speed behind that manifesting generator. And with me, or my chart, with that pure 34-20 channel, that pure, charisma that goes on, it's quite quick. There's other configurations, of course, that can be a little bit slower with the emotional authority, that kind of stuff, or if it's a split or a triple split. But the speed that we're moving and our capacity to skip steps is so much different than a generator who loves the step-by-step, kind of process that allows them to hit that wall and then move through the wall, hit the ceiling, I guess, and then move through the ceiling, right? And really, reclaim that generative process in each one of the steps that they're moving. Where on the other hand, that manifesting generator, there just is this speed. So when you guys are guiding those two, it does look totally different, because we can go so fast. Like I can quite literally blast through a ton of stuff in a day. And projectors are like, whoa, you what? You did your website, you did this, you did 4 videos, right? And I can just go out and walk with my cows, right? And we're moving so quick. So it's that efficiency piece that we really desire. We really desire that as a manifesting generator, that capacity for those projectors like yourself to guide us efficiently.
I love that you bringing up the difference between the generator and the management, because that really helps me to, I guess, mentally comprehend what I subtly notice between my friend and my daughter and my husband. That's just so interesting. When I was working with my friend, she would have, 20 steps outlined, and she'd only do half of them. And I'm like trying to come along behind. I'm like, but we didn't do this step. What are you doing? But with my daughter, my generator, she will pull up. She wanted to make like an origami frog, and she didn't get to finish it at school. So like, I need to make this origami frog, Mom. Okay, baby, we'll do it. So I pull up the YouTube video, and she is completely focused on it. And she is very carefully, meticulously folding that frog, following each and every step, pausing when she needs to. And it's just like, you go, kiddo, you do that.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, that makes me go, because it's like, oh gosh, no, let's just get to the end. Let's go to the end first. And just like, it's like this reverse engineering kind of process. It's like, no, let's go to the end. Let's just, quick. Yeah. Love it.
Yes. And then I know something else that I kind of wanted to talk with you about was business.
Yes.
And human design in business, projectors in business, all the things. Yes. So where do you want to start with that?
So what is something that your audience, what do you notice is something that they bump up against regularly as a projector in business? Is there something that you notice as a pattern?
So I'd say there's two things, which would be, how the heck do I find the energy to actually run a business? Because a lot of times people come to me as solopreneur projectors, and it's like, that's really hard. And the second thing would be just money in business as a projector. As I'm sure it's an issue for lots of people.
Right.
But that's something that I notice a lot when I talk with projectors.
Okay. So this is fun because I just did a newsletter that I'm publishing on Saturday and a video that I'm publishing on Saturday on my YouTube channel around this. And where we're not allowing ourselves to receive money is in that openness of the chart that may most likely be cluttered with judgments, may be cluttered with thinking that we have to work on our weaknesses, all of these things that can get stuffed into that openness. And that's really where our gold lies. And why I say that is just like the neutrino ocean flows through us. And it flows through us and brings us wisdom, little packets of wisdom. That's what the neutrinos really do. But they have to flow through us. They have to move through and then go to, the next possible place it's going to go. This is exactly the same thing in business. It's about taking all of life's experiences and looking at it through like a bird's eye view and really recognizing, what did I let flow through me? And what am I still holding on to that's cluttering up the capacity for money to flow in my business? You're shaking your head. What are you thinking here? Tell me what comes up for you as you lead people and you see it through that lens.
So my self-projectedness is going to come through as I'm about to talk about myself.
Yes.
So I have been doing more kind of money mindset and just money beingness work. And I have realized for myself, I just felt like I was pushing so much. And it was just like my open sacral, that open root, that open will. And it's like, what if I just allowed myself to be. And I was like, you know what, being me is enough. And I'm good with that. And I don't necessarily have to go out and do. And that was a very radical and unsettling idea for me. And sometimes it still is.
Okay. And I have your chart up, of course, because this is important to me, because this is how I live my whole life, is looking at charts. So the variable that is your environment, okay, it's a right variable. So for you as a projector, the only important piece is who you be in your business. And then you get to observe what you need to observe in your environment. So it isn't so much about your quote unquote work, but it's more about who you be in that work. So it is, who are you in a solid foundation? Who are you when you're allowing for your anarchist third line to tear down, constructs that are no longer real? And then you get to observe, other people and recognize, and notice, how are they still trying to be confined by constructs that are no longer serving them? So your beingness is key to your business. Now, if someone has a left variable in that environment, it is actually what they do because people want to observe that out of them. So I have a left variable. So, truly, my identity is in what I do. But because I have a totally open G center, that identity looks different for different people. So the people in the farming world see me as a farm wife. People in the online space see me as, that human design professional. People from my banking world still saw me and still see me to this day as the banker. I haven't been there for, since 2012. So it's interesting to see that your projectors that listen to your podcast, your audience, who you be or what you do will absolutely change the way your business operates. And then through that lens, you can get really clear on the energy that you're going to tap into. Whose battery are you going to connect into to assist you in that movement? Because the battery that you connect into and then disconnect from is so important as a projector.
Thank you for all of that. I felt very seen when you were talking about my variable and yes, I just need to watch. I am a watcher. I love watching. And I have felt that more and more. It's really interesting. I've felt my energy kind of goes through cycles, the ebbs and flows, especially in the creative process. So it's 1 month I can create all the things and it's yes, this is amazing. Everything's great. And then the next month or two, I pull back and it's oh my gosh, what is going on? Why don't I have the energy? And instead of trying to fight it like I have been deeply conditioned to do, I have really been allowing myself to just be you know what? If we don't do anything today in business, that's okay. We can, journal, we can reflect, we can be, and, I could sit and look out the window and that's really nice too. But really just moving into that space of listening to my energy and what I need.
Yeah. And then we, go one step farther and then recognize that everything is in the consciousness and in the potential of that consciousness field. Everything is there. It's available. And in your beingness and in those moments as a projector where it's like, I don't want to do the doing anymore. When you guys just stop and allow for that field to flow through you, now the potential is totally different versus stopping it and forcing the do to stop that energy from flowing through.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I also think that you guys have a very interesting connection with the consciousness field because of your capacity with your aura to be able to be very focused and absorb. And I think it comes from, your capacity as projectors to understand the questions that you can ask us as manifesting generators or generators, but also the consciousness field. And now all of a sudden, there's a different way your Lego blocks kind of fall down in front of you and create your 3D reality.
Yes. That makes so much sense because there have been times when it's like I have glimpsed a whole different and experienced a whole different way of being. And it's like, what is this? Like, I don't consider myself a particularly like really spiritual person. I tend to be very much more practical, grounded. I'm that 1-3. Let's figure things out, right? Practical, hands-on. But there have been times where I'm like, what is going on? Like, what new dimension did I enter into? And the feeling, between like my energetic state now and what it was then, it was just two completely different things. And it's like, whoa.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. And so I have a unique view, and people are like, you're crazy. But when I look at the human design mandala and when you fill the entire thing in, you get an emotional manifesting generator. So it is the question, the consciousness field is designed to respond to us. Right? Do we know what that timing's going to look like? No, it's emotional. So what is the frequency of that emotion? So I see the consciousness field as that capacity for us to ask it questions and really understand, like, how are we asking it questions? What is our energetic state when we're asking the questions? Right? Are we in a state of gratitude? Are we in a state of bitterness? Are we in a state of, pure satisfaction and, celebrating? So it's interesting, when I look at it through that lens, and I'm not religious, but I do have a Bible that sits here. And one of the things that the Bible says is, ask and you shall receive. So when I hear that and I look at that mandala and I, color it all in, it's like, there is a receptivity, there is a response mechanism to the consciousness field. And projectors, you guys get so good at asking those questions.
I love that. I've now been inspired to just like go and reflect and be like, okay, let's figure out these questions. And like, I love it because I know it's really funny that we're having this conversation now. Because just in my whole like being more pulled back and just rather existing and journaling as I need to, I've really gone into this space of like, I am supported regardless of what I do. And I can feel that support. So I was really open and I was like, I would just love, an invitation, right? To do to just build more wealth, right? Like projectors wanting money. And then I got an invitation from a friend that I hadn't talked to in a while. And it was like, I see you, universe. And that was just really, really interesting. I didn't do anything. And I think a lot of times projectors, it's all mental. We're like, okay, I have set my goals, right? Or I know what invitations I want. How can I go get them? And I've always been like, I can't really give you a 5-step process because it's nothing like that. You just kind of exist and things happen.
Exactly. And so let's play with this word how. Manifestation, like it's none of our business, to be honest with you, on the how. It's none of our business. What our business is to tap into our strategy and authority, ask the consciousness field for the invitations, kind of tickle the funny bone of it and go, oh yeah, I can't wait to see how creative you get with these invitations. And then just allow yourself to sit back and let the how come to you. It might come to you in 10 different invitations. What that's doing is strengthening your inner authority to really connect with the correct energy. So we get caught up in the how as human beings. We think we need to know the how. We think we're smarter than the consciousness field, right? We're not. We're not smarter than the consciousness field. Our job is to just participate through inner authority. That's it. Right? And it allows us to hone in on the correct how. We don't have to figure it out. We don't have to push it. We don't have to look for it. That how comes to us. And then we get to interact and participate with it.
Yes. I love this so much. It just makes me so happy. And it's true.
Yes. Like, we're all like trying to figure out business. And we're trying to figure out this. And we're trying to figure out that. Well, the mechanics truly don't lie. And, like if we were to just take a look at your chart, I look at that root center and I'm like, oh man, there is so much potential there for you to, guide other people to freedom. And you're going to bump into all these people that are scared of the fates. They're sitting in a space of chaos and they're like, how do I organize all this stuff? They don't know how to close off cycles. They have this fear of, the future. And they also have this huge fear of not understanding what their purpose is. Okay. So when you are sitting there with your root center and it's got these, 5 little tentacles out there, because really that's what those dormant hanging gates are. They're just these little tentacles going, I'm going to find that out in the world. It's going to come to you and it's going to invite you to help me figure out what freedom really means. And really what freedom means is stop trying to figure out the how, stop trying to schedule your life, and start really embracing your energetics. So exactly what you said. I just want to sit at the window and just like journal. And that is just as successful as sitting with a client and guiding them to their efficient manner of operating. How does that land?
I love it. All of it. And I know it's funny when I'm talking with someone, I don't ever really tell them anything new. I don't. It's just like I'm asking you questions, I'm giving you a space to talk things out, and I'm just reflecting things back to you. But I'm not ever like ordering you to do anything, because that's not how this works. I love listening to people and hearing their stories and their experiences. And it's like, okay, well, let's try to make some sense of this so that you can understand how this energy is playing out.
And that truly, truly, truly is the signature of an advisor / projector who is using that energetic and that capacity that you guys have to be a coach. Ask the 70% of the population that are like, here to build and do and generate and produce and do all these things. We need that guidance. We need that moment where we can stop and get reflective, because we need to know who we are in this big soup. Right?
I love telling people who they are. It feels like when I'm sitting with someone, and a lot of times people come to me and they're like, I don't like my chart, I don't like my energy, or they're always looking at the negative, and I'm like, are you kidding? This is amazing. And it's just like, I feel like I sometimes become like a fire hose of like love. And I'm like, look at how cool your energy is. And then they're like, oh yeah. It's like, yes.
Yep. And again, I'm going to look at your chart and go, okay, so you don't actually have the 4, quote unquote, love gates of the identity center. You actually have the 4 directional gates. So what I love is when you say, like, I'm a fire hose of love, what you're doing is reflecting back their own capacity to love themselves. And then once they can actually absorb that, now you can I am going to lead you. I am going to show you that direction. I am going to help you with your self-expression. But it all begins in that reflective energy for you, that 10, 25, 46, 15 of reflecting back that love. So it's such a beautiful process. I love that. I love that you shared that.
That makes sense, because when I'm by myself, I'm typically like, I don't like people. I do not like people. But then when I'm with other people, I'm like, oh my gosh, people are the best. You guys are so great. But when I'm by myself, I'm grumpy and grouchy.
I find that really hard to believe looking at the smile that's on your face. And I hear the kindness and compassion. I like having conversations with self-projected projectors. I love your voices. I love the nuances. I love to pick up on the tone and the cadence. And, there's one client that I have, and he's got this big booming radio voice, right? And then I met him in person, and he's a smaller man. He's he's not this big. You think that this voice is going to be with this big burly man, and it's like, that is so fun to watch that cadence and all of that come out of that self-projected. So that's what I hear from you. This really compassionate soft leadership that you allow us to lean into a self-assessment process by just hearing your voice. Do you find that? Do people say that to you? Do you find that?
Yes, I've had people, they're like, Ardelia, I could just listen to your voice all day. It's so grounding. I love it so much.
It is. It's like so soft. Wow. Love it. And of course, then I look at your 50 as well. That's, sitting there. And I love the 50th gate because it has this, it's just this conservative, kind, compassionate aspect in the design, because it is here to really teach and hold its tribe in a space of values. So I hear that coming out of your voice as well. I hear that. I love that.
I have a question for you about the tribe and business and how it relates to business. So for someone like me, I don't have any tribal channels in my chart. So what does that mean in terms of like business? Or does that mean anything?
Well, tribe can be seen also as like a kinesthetic aspect. Like it's a touch aspect. Okay. So it also provides like a general thematic in the business. So tribal energy, tribal channels are more of a support mechanism. So like for you, because the two channels that are in your chart are collective. So it's all about sharing. So having the podcast, right? Sharing the wisdom, sharing the knowledge, sharing your capacity to lead the collective, right? That's your business model. Where someone with a support mechanism, like myself, I have all three of them. I have empowerment, sharing, and support. Like my business model has all of that built into it already, just because it does, because it just operates like that. So yours is focused in on sharing. Would you agree that your business model really has, like, that's its core foundational aspect?
Yes, for sure. And it's every time I think about how I set up my business and the fact that I even have a podcast, it was just like sheer dumb luck and following what felt right in the moment. Because when I created my podcast, I didn't really see, as I created in about 2018, 2019, I wasn't really aware of any other resources specifically geared for projectors. And I was like, but I don't necessarily want to learn about all the other human design types right now. I want to learn about me. Right. And I was really frustrated because a lot of what I saw was just wait for the invitation. But then my 1-3 is like, how? What does that look like? I need practical application steps. And so then I kind of became the thing that I was looking for. I kind of tested everything out on myself. And then my collective kicked in and I started sharing.
Yes. Perfect. Totally perfect. So what would you say is the manner or what's a perfect invitation? That's what I'm trying to ask. Like, how do you know an invitation for you and yourself? What does it look like? What does it feel like?
Oh, that's a really good question. So I would say that it's something that this is my unconscious trying to vocalize itself mentally.
Yep.
It feels right. It feels like I'm kind of slipping into a hot bath, or it's like, yes, like things click. I'm seen. I can be me in this space. And it's something that I have asked for.
Okay. And asked for, I like how you kind of, you moved your face for anybody listening on the podcast. Ardelia kind of moved her face in a little interesting, because that's what I do. I watch details. I watch body language. So tell me a little bit about, it is something that I asked for.
So I was probably partly because I carry my definition in my unconscious, but also because I become more aware of how my mind likes to try and get into things. When I try to get clarity on what invitations I want, it typically starts mentally, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll make a list. And then the more I kind of work through it, the more my mind kind of exits the building. And eventually I don't even know that I always vocalize what I want, but it's like my self sings, for lack of a much better terminology. But it's like almost feels like I have a direct connection, or like highway to the quantum field, or the universe. And it's like, yes, this is what I want. And it's just like I've kind of become the sun in that aspect. And I'm just shining. And it's like, yes, this is what I want. I don't know how I can explain it other than that.
Yep. Love it. And then when the invitation comes, there's a sensation that happens in your body.
Yes. Okay. It's like, yeah, that feels good. Although I have noticed that sometimes there's fear that's there too. And it's like, okay, why is there fear here? And so it's like, is this an actual no, or is this fear? And where is my actual response? Because I don't have that like motor center or awareness. I have to talk to figure things out. So sometimes my knee-jerk reaction is fear, probably also that 1-3 coming in too. I don't know. And so then I have to take time to be in my own energy and really talk things out and allow myself to be in my body. And once I'm able to really be like, I just engage from the mind and I'm just like, is this me? Do I see myself reflected in this? It's like, yes.
Okay. Are you open to a little bit of playing in your chart?
Sure.
Okay. So are you aware of your cognition?
Yes. But remind me. Smell. Yes. Yes. Okay.
Okay. So what smell will do, and it's a first tone. So there is a sense of fear in first and second tones because they are born out of the splenic center, and the splenic center does have survival fear in it. Okay. So now if we were to look at this through the lens of like mammals, because that splenic center is so ancient, it's old, it's our, survival mechanism. Like that's how most mammals on the planet, as well as fish and that kind of stuff too. They can smell things with the water. It's really this smell mechanism that brings you so much information. So I would recommend to you that when there's decisions that you are getting, need to discern, that you're discerning in that invitation, smell the invitation. Bring it over your olfactory capacity, tap into it. Whether, here we are on the internet, a gazillion miles away from each other, the energy field is still right there and it's available. So when that invitation comes, smell that invitation. What does it smell like? Does it smell like, baking bread? Right? I don't know if that's a good smell for you, or like flowers, or like what is a really scrumptious smell for you? And then play with that. What's a smell that like totally turns you off, right?
Fish.
Like, nope. Okay, fish. There you go. Okay. So does it smell fishy? Right? Does the invitation smell fishy? There you go. Excellent, analogy there, right? If it smells fishy, it's probably not the right energy. So what's a really good smell for you? What is something that you totally like love smelling?
Bread.
Okay. So then all of a sudden you get this waft of baking bread. This feels like I'm seen, I'm heard. It's a comfortable space for me to now click onto that battery and tap into that energy field.
That makes so much sense. And I'm going to have to try that now. And I know in life already, even before I knew that my cognition was smell, there were times when I just didn't like a smell. And it was like, I got that same kind of like pushing away in my body that I feel when something's not right. It could be as simple as like picking up a candle to sniff in the store. And it was like, oh God, no, I don't.
Right.
But even being in like a particular place, it's like, this is not the place for me.
Yep. So it is so important for you, that smell mechanism. And mental projectors, self-projected, and reflectors, like that capacity to have that cognition is so important. And it's not that the self-projected that you guys are, bouncing anything off of your environment, but you're hearing your own voice, which then truly then does bounce off the environment, because you want to hear that spontaneous voice that comes out, right? So what does that invitation smell like? Play with that as you walk along and move through this, because it's like, if there's a comfort zone there, it's going to give you the smell of, fresh baked bread. If it's fishy, that invitation, there's something going on there that probably is not going to serve you or the other person. Right?
I love that so much. Thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
Human design has so many layers, and it's amazing. Just all the different layers you can go through. And my favorite thing about it is they like all build on each other. Yeah. And I love it. As someone who's like, I have said it a bajillion times, solid knowledge foundation. That's some of like my 3 favorite words. Put them all together. Solid knowledge foundation. And you need that. And you still use it moving forward. And it's just wonderful.
Yep. Totally agree. As a 1-3 myself, that's why I motored through all the classes at the International Human Design School, at the BG5 Business Institute, the Jovian Archive, like quite literally, to say that I've put in 10,000 hours is probably an understatement, right? Because that truly is, as a 1-3, that's so important for us. Like, we have to master in order to then go out and teach it. Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything else that your audience would appreciate hearing today?
I would love for you to tell us more about your prosperity reports, because I think that could potentially be helpful. Just being able to look at our charts or information from a different, through a different lens.
Yeah. So, what I love is there's a company that now allows myself and other people that want to build out our own unique reports. So bodygraphchart.com for any of your human design people that want to do their own thing and have their own charts on their website. So again, as a 1-3, and I have like 8 first lines in my chart, I have to have that solid foundation, and I have to transmit that solid foundation. I have no other choice. I'm totally choiceless in that, and I totally get it. So these prosperity reports, what I've done is I've taken, 25 years of coaching and 10 years of human design, and I put it into a report that is quite linear, quite succinct, goes through marketing, goes through niching, goes through these little different aspects of the design, walks through strengths, walks through profit potential, so that the holistic view can be seen. One thing I will say, though, there is a caveat. Bodygraph chart doesn't have the quote unquote line values yet in their process. So the report doesn't have line values in it, but I provide all the information of the hexagram, so each line in the report, so that you guys can really lean in to the magic that is available in every line. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all 6 of them, so that we don't just look at the profile. You can look at, okay, 50.6. What does that mean for me? What is that 6 line really trying to ground me in, right? So that's those prosperity reports. They're like 180 plus pages. Most people are getting like 250 pages of information, because I unfortunately, some people go like, that's way too much. But as a first line, I have no other choice. That's how I transmit all my material, is I go all in and I have to provide it all so that the foundation is there. So I also have a self-study course. Not that I'm here to sell anything to anyone. And that's exactly what's there too, right? It's like everything is there in a linear fashion, so that as you walk through the material, it's like, oh, each little piece, like exactly what you said, each little layer builds on the other layer. And then as professionals and analysts, what we get to do is we get to pull up to that bird's eye view and see the holistic aspect of the chart. So the prosperity reports have a lot in them. And I think they're super beneficial. I just launched them last week, and they are selling like crazy. And the feedback is like, what I get is an OMG, wow. That's what I'm getting back as feedback. So I'm like, okay. So I don't know if I overwhelm people or if it's like, oh, I can't wait to jump into this material. So, take that as an invitation or not, to jump in or not. It's completely up to you. Again, my energy field is like, I have no other choice but to give it all. So
That sounds amazing. Thank you so much for sharing about that. And everyone who's listening, all of Leann's links will be in the show notes, and you can find them on the That Projector Guide website as well. And please go connect with her. Go check out those prosperity reports. If they are calling to you, they sound fantastic.
Love it. Love
Yes. And thank
So-
you so much for being
So
here.
you're very welcome. Can I ask you one more question before we
Yes.
close up?
Yes.
Okay. Love it. Love it. So before we push record here, I had asked if it's okay to put this on my YouTube channel. So I like everything to be an equal exchange. So tell me a little bit about your services and your offers to your projector people that come into your world, and they want to understand, like, how are they best to operate? What is something that you can bring to my audience on YouTube as a projector who's been working in this material, as a self-projected projector, writing across of the Sphinx 1-3? Tell me a little bit about what that looks like for you and how you best serve your clientele.
Yeah, so I live, and then I take my experiences and what I have learned from other people and what I've heard from other people, and I create content from it, whether it's courses, challenges, podcast episodes, and then I also offer readings as well. One of my favorite things to point projectors to is the Projector Pivot Challenge. It's my freebie, and it really is like a quick start kind of thing to learning how to live as a projector. It's not like the end all be all, but it is like a great, you want to get started, hit the ground running. That's a great place to start.
Love it. Love it. Okay. I love it. Pivot. I like that. As a third line, like that's a part of your keynotes, right? Pivot. So I love it. Okay. Awesome. So is there anything else that I can serve your clientele as we wrap up?
I don't think so, but I would love for everyone to just go connect with you and hang out with you more. And because this was just incredible. And I love the depth of the knowledge that you have and how you shared it. And I really appreciate you being here and doing that for us.
Thank you. I appreciate the connection and for you opening up your space for the sharing to take place. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, and I will talk with you next time. Bye. Okay. And